my notes. We are live. Awesome. Welcome, everyone. Happy Monday. Let's see what happened to my YouTube up there. There it goes. All righty. Happy Monday. We are so happy to see you here. We love Monday Jumpstart. Hello, welcome, and stab that like button, please, Margie says. So, thank you for the reminder, Margie. I always forget to ask. We do appreciate it. The like button, the subscribe button, even the share. If you find some value in the content, that's what helps us to be found by other people who like doing the things that we like doing. So Cheryl, first one in today. It's so good to see you. I know we've had a few weeks where you haven't been able to join us. So happy that you're here. Margie, always happy to see you. My Margie Afghan and I have been having quite a relationship this week as I've been planting my behind in the recliner to rest. So enjoying her, and she's keeping me nice and cozy. Hey, Joanne, good to see you. Welcome, welcome. You guys, I'm saying hello and kind of killing a couple minutes here because I want everybody to be able to come in. If you're watching on the replay, give us just a minute. We want everybody to show up live because we have a real treat for you today. I mean, a real treat. I think you're going to be very excited. I think you're going to go away with tons of ideas and motivation and inspiration today. It's just going to be super impressive. And I'm not sure I had that in mind when I made it. Well, she's a good cuddle buddy. That Afghan is for me. So yeah, I'm very excited today. Dawn Marie is with me, and she's with me quite frequently. You see her here, but today she is going to share with us some things we've been talking about for a while that very fun, very exciting, and just really a way to make some of your basic projects look super, super impressive and super difficult, even though they're not. She'll show you how to simplify them, but make them look that way. So hoping that a few more of our friends get a chance to join us. They will come in as they are able to come in, but let's get going, because if you're watching on the replay, you don't want to wait for 10 minutes for us to get going. So here we go. Today, hi, DM, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I am really good. I got a good night's sleep. I feel well rested. I'm resting my shoulder. I'm resting my knee. I'm just, yeah, I laid low yesterday. Every time I get up and do a few things, not even pushing it, just do a few things, I find that it just completely drains me. So I just need to lay low. Give it time. Yeah. Give it time. Let's see. They can watch the replay. Yep. They can catch up if they come in late. Okay. So today we are talking about binding signatures into journals. And if you say, oh yeah, I know how to do that, trust me, you are still going to be impressed with what I will say we are going to show you today. What DM is going to do today. I am just watching. I'm really grateful this month in July for all the admin that have been willing to step up and take the responsibility of doing the demonstrating this month while I rest from surgery. So welcome to old timers. Yeah. Welcome to new people. Welcome to old timers. We need you all. If we don't have our old timers, then we're kind of lost. And we love meeting new friends that are in the same arty, crafty mindset that we are. So today, as I said, DM is going to lead us on an adventure through the world of binding signatures to books. However, we are, you're going to say, how can it be so impressive if all we're going to do is a basic 3-hole, 4-hole, or 5-hole pamphlet stitch? we're going to stick today with the 3-hole, 4-hole, or 5-hole pamphlet stitch. If you already know how to do that, you're going to love today. If you don't know how to do that, we are going to show you how to do that. Hi, Sylvia. You resemble that remark. Thank goodness. Hey, Glennis. Good to see you guys. So let's start. Okay, if you know how to do those, you're going to walk away today with a whole new repertoire of things that you can do that are very impressive. Let's start with a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. Most people probably know how to do it. However, there are always people watching who are just learning to make books, just getting into journaling, junk journaling, making their own journals and binding that may not even be familiar with it. So, DM, will you show us first 2, and there are lots of ways to do this, but I've asked her to stick with showing us 2 ways of binding just 2 basic 3-hole pamphlet stitches. Okay, so 3-hole pamphlet stitch, 2 ways, very simple and basic.
So I've made up these homemade charts, and we'll get to what this is in front of me, but I will show this first. You always go down through a center point, and you hold your end.
So if you're doing a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, you're just going to make 3 holes in your
right
signature, right?
Right.
And so she's got a lot of holes on there, and so she can use
the whole, I just have them shown where I could punch.
Yes, so she's made this impressive template that she can put up on her signature and make as many holes or space the holes out wherever she wants. So if it's a basic 3-hole stitch, she's picking 3 of those holes that she's using for this signature that she would bind. So she's going, is that the center hole then that you went down, or is that the top?
That's the center hole. So this would be
so really you're holding your book side to side then, correct?
When I do pamphlet stitch, yes, I do hold everything side to side, not top to front. Right. And I'm not sure why I do that.
It's okay. I just want them to be able to visualize. Right. So she's holding her book open and stitching down the center. There it is, top to bottom. It's easier for her to turn it and hold it side to side. But you can see that if
inside,
if there's a top,
and this is going to be the front,
or
and
outside,
this is the top, bottom,
okay,
top.
So she's got a lot of holes there for different things she could do. So if she's going to do just a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, she's only going to use 3 of those holes. So she went down the center hole. And now she's coming up the top hole.
Yep. And then I'm going to go all the way across.
Okay.
And go down the bottom hole.
Okay. So down the center, up the top, all the way past the center again, down the bottom, and then up the center. So she came right back to where she started.
But you have to remember to keep these side to side on each side, because what you're going to be doing is holding this long piece with your knot here.
So when she came up, you want to bring that thread up, one on each side of your long string that goes down. So then you can tie it together in a knot, and you're tying into the long string that you have going across. So everything is tied together and neither.
Yep. Did I lose you? I lost her, I think. So I'm just going to pull this one out, and I'm going to do the next one. Now, when I do a 3-hole stitch, and this is just for my personal opinion, or the way I do it. So I know where the top is and where the bottom, where the top part of my signature is compared to my bottom, so I don't stitch them in wrong. I actually always put a shorter binding at the top and a longer one at the bottom. So I always go up one hole for the top. So you can see that was the center. And this is now, that was the center. And this is now the one I'm going to use.
The one
so
above.
I'm going to go down through this one, which is no longer the center because I'm making it an offset.
But it's still her center hole.
It's still my center hole.
It's still the center hole, but she's not putting it exactly center. She's making it a little closer to the top, or you could make it a little closer to the bottom. Either way. And a lot of people do that. Why do they do that, DM?
So that they can tell the top from the bottom and put your signatures in correctly instead of putting them in upside down.
Everybody who's sewn in multiple signatures has sewn in a signature upside down.
Yeah.
So a lot of people do that so that when they see the shorter distance on either the top or the bottom, it reminds them that this is the top or this is the bottom. And so they make sure they get their signature sewn in correctly, because we don't like having to undo it and redo it, but we do. Okay, so she still went down the center.
Stitches, making a template like this is great because then you also have the, the templates already made. So you've gone down through what I'm calling my center, even though it's offset, up through the top. Now, in this one, we went all the way to the bottom. This time I'm not. I'm going to go back down through the center hole. And then I'm going to go up from the back through the bottom hole.
Okay.
And down through. So this one, this stitch actually.
No, don't go down. Just go underneath the top one.
Oh yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what you meant. No, I know.
And then I always go up underneath the top one. Yes, that's right.
And so you're still tying that center. You're still tying it together so it holds everything in place. You still go down, up, down, up. If you remember this for a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, down, up, when you're sitting there looking at your book.
Yep.
You go down the center and up either the top or the bottom, and then down one of the others, and then up whichever one you didn't go down in. It will work either way.
Right.
So either way, you're going to tie it around the string that's already there. So she's undoing it so she can pull it out to show you other things.
So now I didn't punch a hole for the next one. We're going to do a 4-hole pamphlet stitch. So I'm going to do the top. I'm going to put 2 holes between it and then this one. So I already had that one there, so it was easy to find. And then I always do my bottom. And then I find where the center from this is, which is sort of weird. But we'll just do this. I don't know what I did on this. We'll do this one. They're sort of even. We'll pretend that they're even.
Yeah, and they don't have to be exactly even. Right. Sometimes we measure. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we just start stabbing with the awl to make a hole.
Right. If you were to do it on an actual grid like this, this is my homemade grid. This is an actual grid. I made the template like this. These are my 2 templates that I use.
Right.
You would be able to do them even
And if you do those on a piece of chipboard and just punch those holes in, it will last you forever. And you can just line it up on your paper and use a pencil to make a mark in the hole and know exactly where you're going.
Let's do 2 of these because there's really a couple different ways to do this one too.
Now, another good reason for offsetting the 3-hole punch or for doing the 4-hole pamphlet stitch or 5-hole, she's showing you the 4-hole now, is because sometimes we put pages in a journal that are not all the same size. They might just be a small scrap of something really cool. And so maybe they don't go the full length and will only get picked up by 1 hole up at the top or the bottom. And having the center one offset may pick up that shorter page. Okay, so 4-hole pamphlet stitch.
4-hole pamphlet stitch. We're going to go down through one of the center holes. It doesn't matter which one. actually, if I do it this way, I usually offset them. Like the first one will be up, the next one will be that one, back and forth.
Okay. So again, you can measure them evenly, or you can offset them so that visually you can always tell what's high or low.
Right.
Okay.
And then you're going to go back up through that one. And you're actually going to go all the way back down to the first one, to the bottom one. And you say, but that's just putting a big, huge, whoops, wrong way. It went over. Sorry.
It's okay. Take your time.
It's just one of those things where I didn't hold on to things right.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Let's try this again. Down through.
Down and up one of the center ones.
Yep.
And, center being relevant because there's 4 holes here. Up through the top one. She's going all the way across and down through the bottom one.
So then you have this long string. Now, doing this here is actually going to teach you how to do something later. Okay, just so you know. Okay. Now you're going to tie this down with that hole. So you're going to go up through the hole. Up
through the last hole that is there.
Yep, the other hole that you need to do. And you're going to move that to the side and put locking that.
So she went back down the same hole she just came up, but she went over the top of the string. So it locks the string in place. And when she went back down the same hole, it didn't just come out.
Right. And then you go up through this one, and then you would tie that one together.
Tie it there. Interesting. So there, and some of you are thinking, oh, that's not the way I've seen it or done it. There are multiple ways of doing the 3, 4, and 5 hole pamphlet stitch. I mean, I can think of a half a dozen ways to do each of them off the top of my head. So the cool thing is that every time you see something like this, you can learn one more way to put in your repertoire. This is a really cool way. And I see exactly, I haven't done it this way. And I see exactly what that can lead to in the future, DM. So thank you. That's pretty awesome.
This is a very important stitch for a lot of the stuff I do.
So
that down and up.
Okay, so there's a 4 hole pamphlet stitch.
Now, so I'm going to pull this out. I know I didn't want to have 8 million different strings. I'm using the same string on this one.
That's totally okay. And you can keep using the template. You don't want to have it all messed up and have to get a whole new one.
Exactly.
And Martie's right. Any way that works is correct. Any way that works and will bind your book together is correct. Any way you can get whatever to hold on that you want to hold on. Yeah, there is no wrong way in books. Okay, so are we to the 5 hole now, or we're still 4?
No, we're going to do the other 4 hole method.
Okay,
which is the same. It's going up and down and up and down.
Okay, so down one of the center,
up through that one, back down through
the same one,
up through the top. This one I almost consider more like weaving.
So she's just working her way down the spine on this one, up, down, with giant stitches. This is probably the one that I use the most frequently.
Right.
Just up, down, up, down, up, down.
And then you slip that through there and tie it off.
Okay.
So up, down, up, down, up, down. It's just a,
perfect.
Up, down, up, down.
And that's easy to remember. Just
any number of stitches. Like if you punched each one of these out, and you could go up, down.
You could do an 8 hole pamphlet stitch. Just go down, up, down, up, down, up, all the way up and then back. And the way to remember, there's always the question of, do I start in the center and go down to the outside, or do I start outside and go up to the inside? It's wherever you want the tail to be. So if you want the tail on the inside of the signature to hang a charm or something, or if you want, then you go from the inside. If you want the tail on the outside to hang a charm outside, then you start from the outside.
So sometimes when I do that, my middle one, the hole will start from the front side, so that you can. So I do have a place to do a charm, and that's one of the basic things.
Okay.
Those 2 methods of sewing are exactly. you can do with any stitch. So if I went in and I punched every one of these, you could go from the top to the bottom and then up, down in all the stitches here. And the same way, in and out, in and out, in and out, for as many stitches you have on your
cool
plate. So those were the basic stitches.
Okay, so before we go on to other stitches, let's say we're just starting, and so we've learned the 3-hole pamphlet stitch, but we'd like to make the 3-hole pamphlet stitch a little fancier.
Right.
How about some ideas of what we can do just with the 3-hole pamphlet stitch?
So I'm going to show you this right here. This is I've done this in my ideas book, and I always lose it. So I've decided to make myself my own idea book.
Binding idea book.
Binding idea book. So I went through and decided to draw some ideas. And that way I can look at them. Like if I see something, I can do it. But I've also put in paper that's got a hard back to it that I can just quickly do stitches in my book before I get to the next process that you're going to see. So I've got all the variations of a 3-hole stitch here. Varying the stitch, meaning the lengths of the stitches, weaving through, gathering, adding things, extra holes, beads. And then I have ideas here. These are the extra stitch ideas that I have. And these are the varying of sizes. You can see that I did them sort of wider so that it's just easier for me to see.
So this is a fantastic idea, guys, because when you are looking for ideas for binding or you want to do something different, and you go looking through your idea books, and you tend to end up with multiple idea books, you're going to be looking through them all to find a binding idea here or there. So having them all together in one idea book that is only binding ideas, anything having to do with binding and spine in one idea book, is a fantastic idea that she's sharing with you. And putting in heavy enough paper that you could actually bind on that page. So when you see her notes there, you write it however it makes sense to you, so that when you read it, you will remember, you will know what to do. And
I have different colors even.
Yes, and you can actually stitch on that page. And also, notice that she has some of it done in one color, some of it done in a second color, which she can refer to her notes, and it will say, do this color stitch first, and then do this color stitch, because you might get halfway through and go, oh, shoot, I need to do that one first. I can't do this one first, then I can't do that one. So that reminds her what order to do her stitches in. Even if you're using the same color thread, doesn't matter. It's just the notes that remind her the order, the sequence in which to do her stitches. See, this is a great idea, and you just write it how it makes sense to you.
Right.
Love this idea, DM.
So the other thing, so I'm going to show you the basic stitches now.
So let's talk about embellishing the 3-hole pamphlet stitch before we go into some of your other fancy. Okay.
So this is the 3-hole pamphlet stitch, and these are actually showing you up, down, or
those are 4.
Excuse me. 3-hole.
Okay.
I didn't do as many 3-hole as I did.
But that's okay, because they're good.
It's basically you put it on and you write up, down, or not over, or what I mean.
Does that make sense, guys? So she just wrote what would make sense to her. Start here on this hole, go down, and then number 2, second step is come up this hole. Third step is go down this hole. Fourth step is go up that hole. And so she can remember exactly what direction she went to get this look.
So the one thing I do want to show you is that when you're here's my 3 holes. The one thing I do want to show you is that, and I'm going to show you on this because it's actually easier to see, on the back, which would be the inside where your signatures are. all the stitches always need to go that direction. So as long as you remember that, you can
Stitches
do just
will
about
always
anything.
go up and down the spine. Is that what you're saying?
They always go
up and down the spine.
down the spine.
Okay.
You shouldn't really have anything that goes across.
Across. Okay.
Because you can't put them into your signatures.
Okay.
Right.
That's true.
So that's what you have to remember. So on all of mine, I always denote the bottom, the backside as straight lines when I'm making my templates.
Okay.
They're on this, but you can't see it because I have. So these are my 3-hole pamphlet stitches. And what I've done is I've taken a scrap of paper and denoted a signature actually on the scrap piece of paper. And it's just a little tiny piece. So if you need to learn how to work around having your paper and signature, for a signature, go ahead and just use a scrap of paper and do it this way. And it's
great way to
not
use
long, big ones. It's not.
You don't have to put a whole signature in, is what she's saying. You can just use a scrap that shows you how to bind it without having to take the space of a whole signature.
Right. And this is the one with the knot on the outside. So I did show a knot on the outside of this. And these were the 2 other methods that I used.
So she's got like 6 or 7 or more signatures sewn in right there.
Yeah.
But they're just a scrap of paper representing each one.
Right. And the 2 different ways that I did.
Sound. Cheryl doesn't have any sound. Let me think here a minute, Margie. Has she gone out and come back in? I would first tell her, go out and come back in and see if that makes a difference, because she might have just lost her sound connection and it will pick up again with a new connection. Try that first. Okay, sorry, DM, keep going.
No, that's fine. So when you're looking at these basic 3-hole stitches, how would you add to this? You could add beads to it. You could weave through these. You could use the holes as to pull something through. So that's what I started thinking about with just these 3-hole stitches. What could you do?
And you notice that 3 of those there are, the center is more centered and 3 of them are offset. And so what she's showing you, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't even matter whether they're offset or whether the hole is centered. It doesn't matter how far apart they are. It doesn't matter what size your book is. If you have a 4-inch journal or a 12-inch journal, what she's showing you is going to work.
Right. So I went through, and this was my weaving one. And actually, this is on a 4.
Okay.
And it's only on a 4, so I could do the 3 different types.
Okay.
But this could also be done on a 3-hole stitch. It's just weaving. So this is one type of weaving that I did. And I tied them on by putting the needle back through the ribbon.
So can you take a scrap of ribbon and then use that 3-hole that you've got there and demonstrate for them?
Yes.
Oh, you did that?
Yes.
I mean, right here, she said weaving. That's one technique, but she's got 4 different ways of weaving it right there.
Yeah.
That you can see. You just have to think a little bit. What else could I do with this? Even in this same style. How
this
else
is a wider one.
Okay.
Yeah, a wider one, and you have to have a big enough hole in your needle. So this one's, because it's wider, I'm going to roll it up to get it through my needle.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter if it doesn't go, if it's still wound up, like this one, I'm lucky enough. It's the same width as this. So you're going to, the first one, it doesn't matter. Up, down, up.
Okay. Okay. So you just went under, over, or over, over, or you go under the first one.
The reason why I did this one, I went under the first one, was to do this specific knot. So I'm going to pull it to exactly where you want it.
Mm-hmm.
And this, if it's a longer piece of ribbon, it does help do this because you can see that I'm pretty tight right here.
Right.
So I'm going back down through the ribbon, tucking it under.
Okay.
And you can see the ribbon's still there. I'm hoping it goes through. And then you pull it through.
It's a pretty loose weave ribbon. So she has just pulled that ribbon right through itself. Didn't have to make a hole or anything.
Don't have to tie it. Don't have to glue it. It's just right there.
So it looks tied. You could put that all the way up and down the spine, and it looks like you've taken the time to tie all these intricate little bows and ribbons in there. And look how simple it was.
Yeah. And and then you just take your needle out and you do it the other side. This one is not perfect. This one went to the other.
Okay.
So, and you see that it's going to pull it, but you can also loosen it by just loosening the knot that you've made.
Okay.
The 2 knots and pulling it out.
Pulled tight, or you can loosen it up a little so it looks a little softer. Either way, that's a great idea. Yeah, they love that. Okay.
Pretty little things.
Very
so
cool.
The other way to weave on this is by using a thinner, narrower ribbon, which I have here. It's just something else is on top of it. And this one, you're actually going to physically tie it because you can't really get through this ribbon. It's too narrow with such a big.
Okay.
I mean, if you wanted to try to put it on
it's a skinny little ribbon. She's not going to try to pierce the ribbon itself and go back through it. So she's going to show a second technique.
So the other thing, the next ribbon, no matter what you do, is going to have to be the opposite of the one that you just put on.
If you're putting them side by side, then if you went under, over, under, are you saying now I need to go over, under, over?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So if I want to line it up down the spine, then I need to go every other one. Under, over, under, and then over, under, over. So if you started under, start the next one over.
So then you're just going to put the tail of the ribbon the opposite direction of whichever one you've done. And then you're going to put it to go down through.
Okay. Basically try to circle around that.
Right.
One that it went under.
Tie a basic.
Okay. Oh, cool. Okay.
Not there.
Can y'all see that? You're a little bit out of frame.
Yeah. So that's because I'm trying to do it up in the air and it's not exactly easy to.
I mean, the camera's a little far out and it was close to you, so we couldn't even see it down the bottom. There we go.
Okay.
Thank you.
So then you're going to just make a basic tie.
So she just looped it underneath and tied a knot. And you only need one knot there. You don't need to tie a second.
Yep. And you can still move them up and down if you need to scrunch them or if you need to have it wider.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to put one more piece of ribbon on here. You can see the difference of how it's going back and forth.
So you can see wide ribbon versus a really thin ribbon.
Right.
You could mix and match them if you wanted to, a variety of colors.
Exactly. So here on this is what I did here. So those are all either tied on, like the little ones are tied on, and the thicker ones are all stabbed. Let's call it stabbed.
Okay. Sure.
This right here is woven with one complete piece of gimp here. I don't know what you call this stuff. The weaving stuff that I use to do the lines.
Yeah.
And I had so many little pieces of it. I just tied it together and made one long one.
That's a great idea.
Back and forth and back and forth. So how you can do that is, and I'm just going to use this blue one right here because I've got it.
So this one, you could just pick one color and you're going to go do it, or it could be a variegated, so you get multiple color, or she had
even use thin
ribbon.
You can even use bigger ribbon too, but you have to make sure that you keep it loose. because
Okay.
the bigger the ribbon, you're gonna want to pull it tighter, and you do not want to tighten this. So I'm going to go
Okay.
under, over, under, and I'm going to pull it through.
Perfect.
Until I hit there. I'm going to hold it.
Yep.
And then I'm going to go over, under, over.
Coming back the opposite direction. Okay.
And I'm just going to leave it that wide because that keeps it together.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm going to go under, over, under.
Yep.
And I'm not pulling it tight. I'm just making it so it's sort of loose.
Uh-huh.
And then once again,
over, under,
over.
So while she's doing this, think about a variegated embroidery floss or thin ribbon that would look really cool with the colors of your book. Or I love what she did where she had all kinds of leftover small pieces. She tied them together to make one great big long one and did this with that. So it looks like she's used a whole bunch of little pieces that would be really difficult to use, but she turned them into one big long one, used up those scraps, got the variety of color, that she wanted. Fantastic idea. And so then you could, as you go along with this, you could squish them together as tight or as loose as you want then, right?
Right. Hold on. I'm going to get a piece of sari silk and show you.
Okay. Okay. Good idea.
Now, sari silk, I mean, you can do this without a needle. You don't, if you're doing something big enough, you really don't need it. But I do always put under first.
Okay.
Just, that's the way I was taught to weave. I don't know. Maybe it will be easier with this. But when you have this, if I use something big and I need a weaver for it, I use this. This right here is what you use when you have braces to put your floss through.
Okay. So some of you will be very familiar with that and probably have some around. I've even been known to use a paper clip.
A paper clip
will always work.
And even just looping a small piece of ribbon together to do this, it works. So you're going to go under, over, under, and then you're going to go over, under, over. And the more signatures you have, the more it's going to, the bigger it's going to be, and you're going to be doing more weaving with it.
Right. So if you look at her book there, if that's her spine, she's got 3 signatures sewn in. So if it was a 5 signature book or 4 signature book, that's going to be much wider. So you might choose which one you want to use based on how many signatures you have in that particular book. So what kind of look you're going to get.
Or you can actually add extra string beyond the ones you've added your signatures in.
Even though there might not be a signature there, but you want more binding string to work with for a fancy spine. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. And so you can make it like that with strips of paper. Now, with strips of fabric. Now, I just said that, and I'm going to show you this.
Okay.
This I put across, and it looks like I have how many signatures? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 signatures.
Okay, right.
But I really only have 4. And that's because I added extra.
Bound through holes for in between them to give her working space on the spine without adding another signature. Brilliant.
So if I wanted to put a ribbon through this, I could go, come out, wherever you are. I could either do them straight through each one or go under, over. This might not work because these are tightened. Go under, over, and you can see that you can do it with multiples. And I did this because...
And you could make it not quite so tight if you knew that that's what you were doing, because you were planning.
Exactly. And yes,
this is what I'm doing it for.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's doing this right here is almost exactly what I did in this one. This one, they're wide open, they're under over, and they're actually bound all the way across. Like, for instance, say this was your signature, and these were your left and right pages for your covers.
Okay.
And you took them all the way over, and I glued them to the inside. So you could actually have these go all the way across your entire cover.
Yes.
And glue them.
Very cool. Very cool.
So that's that. I do want to show one other thing. Okay. How I said extras. Now this is a three
hole pamphlet,
3-hole stitch, and it doesn't that look like really intricate?
Yes.
Yes. But the pamphlet stitch that you've done, you've only done it in the dark blue. So my signatures would only be where the dark blues are.
Okay.
And I've only punched little tiny holes for that. So you knew that was the ones that you needed to do.
So there would be 3 signatures in that book. Yep. And they're bound in 3-hole pamphlet stitch with the blue.
Yep.
And then added extra holes for additional binding thread to make it look
cross stitched. And if anybody knows how to cross stitch, that's exactly how it's done. Cross stitch, and you just have to remember that the lines can only go up and down.
Very cool. Usually do the hidden binding to avoid the strings, but I need to try. I'm with you, Margie. Unless it's just a single signature book, sometimes I'll do that, with a pamphlet stitch. But the hidden binding is what I do the most, and I'm anxious to try some of these.
I do too. And you could do that because you could have a bunch of these already ready for you to use, and you could cut them off and have them on nicer paper and just turn them over the top of your.
Brilliant idea she just gave us right there. You can sit down at your leisure, maybe when you're watching movies or whatever, with some cool cardstock. It could be solid colors, black, white, whatever colors you like to work with. It could be pretty paper. You could do some of these things on it. If you know that your standard books are 9 inches tall, 8.5 by 11 paper goes inside. You can sit down and make just like this, and then make your books put the hidden binding in if it's quicker, easier, and then adhere this on the outside spine for a fancy dancy spine. Wow, what a fantastic idea. You could just make up lots of these when you're doing one, mass make them, because you get faster at it as you do it. If I'm doing 1, do 5. That's a fantastic idea.
And you could have this cross stitch pattern already done, and then you could just add the 3 up and downs,
Yes, that's true. On that one.
That in, so you could have something that's going to look like this, but this is going to be stitched down, and things are going to be stitched down.
Below the beads, putting the beads right there. Yep, in that one.
So this one right here, you have to start with your center one, and when you put the center one on, you have to put your bead in. Now these beads have got to have big holes. I have my beads right here.
It took me a long time to can go through. Okay.
Yeah, to get it to go through. I had to go and pull all of my metal beads because none of my other beads really had. Pony beads are big enough. This one would be a little bit too big unless you wanted to put some big
unless
fabric.
You're using a thicker cord or or wanted to put ribbon or something after.
Right.
So did you catch what she said? When you bind this one, you need to bind the center of the 3 signatures first. And as you're binding it, up, down, up, down, up, down, you just put that bead on every time you go down, put a bead on before you come up. And then it's just there. Make it nice and tight. And then when you do the first and the third signatures, when you
Which
go
it doesn't
down,
matter which one you do next.
yep, go down, up. When you go down, just take it through the bead before you come up. She's giving you tips, tricks right there to make that super easy to do. And it looks fantastic. It looks really difficult. It looks intricate. It's very impressive. And she's made these very simple for you.
Pamphlet stitch on the back. So
Love
let's go a little bit further. Remember
Okay.
how I told you the up down is very important?
Yes.
Okay. So these things right here have the up down on them. This right here is just a piece of
Trim,
which most people would just glue on their binding. Well, I didn't. I sewed it on with
a 4-hole pamphlet stitch.
With a full hole pamphlet stitch, and these would be holding in your signatures.
Okay, look at that. That simple idea she just gave you that can make any spine look amazing. Pick any piece of cool trim, lace, whatever it is. I love this because you can't really tell where the stitches are because of the leaves, and I know this is a shiny gold with leaves. So you glue that ever so slightly on the spine, and then you start binding.
I didn't even glue it
down.
It's moving around.
You could, you could, so that or you don't, and then it's still movable except where it's tacked down. That's a fantastic idea. And
if you wanted it to be stuck down more, you would just make more holes.
Yeah. Cool. Love that idea. Quick, easy way to embellish an entire spine with a really beautiful piece of trim.
So these are another idea. These are buttons. Now you don't see anything between these because I've done the up-down stitch on each one, and I knotted each one, but this would be where your signature was.
So if there are 3 signatures in that one, and she's done them as 3 separate size buttons so you can see the variety, she'd probably make them more, maybe they kind of, go together for the, all large or all small or whatever. But you can see,
I like these 3 together.
I'm talking about the 3 left and right, the three different signatures.
Oh yeah, I did these as 3 separate signatures. These wouldn't be on one book. These are like I did is just
exactly. So she's showing you that you can use any size of button, from small on the left, kind of a medium, to a large button. It just needs to have a shank on it so that you can grab it from the other side and go through it. Now, if it doesn't have a shank, you could come up and go through the hole and go back down, right?
Right. I have done it with like 4-hole buttons where you go up, down, through, and then just done it a second time and then have it come down through.
Okay.
I could have shown you one of those, but it would be just doing like one stitch over and the other stitch over and then bringing it back down through to tie it
Julie,
on.
so. I'm sure you've got buttons, Julie. You don't need beads. You could use buttons, because if you have buttons with large holes in them, you could use a button where she just showed us the beads and have the one on the last one or two ago where you had the bead and you pull them in like the hourglass.
Yes.
You could use a button there instead of a bead.
Yeah.
And just a button that has larger holes so that you can get all 3 of your strings through it. So you don't have to have beads.
If I were going to do a button like that, let me find a 4-hole button and I'll show you quickly.
Even a 2-hole button with large enough holes.
Yep.
Buttons would be great. While she's finding a good one for that, on the one that she's showing us right now with the button, there's 1 button at each hole. That's really cool. And you could also, because it's got the shank on it, you could go in there and attach to it and hang a charm or a dangle from each of those buttons.
These are little bells.
Cute.
That I have on. And this could be like for a boho one.
Butterfly. Margie's finding ways for us to use up all those silly butterflies and flowers. Attach them to the spine. Use them up.
These are just general beads.
Uh-huh.
And you could, once again, put things through those to hang from these as dangles.
Right.
This is exactly the same. This one has a couple more holes. No, this is 4-hole stitch, but
and it doesn't even matter how many holes. Yeah.
Right. I put extra holes so you could see if you didn't want this quite so
attached.
Flappy, you could actually
if you didn't want it
to those.
If you didn't want it so flexible, you loose, yeah, you could attach it at more holes.
Yep. So that's chains.
Look at that, guys. If you like steampunk and you want to put chain on, and then you want to hang some cool charms or dangles from the chain links, that's a fantastic idea right there.
The other thing is, I saw somebody put a bracelet on, but they only put it from the top and the bottom, and that's what got me to put it on like this. But if you had pearls, for instance, you would just go over between two pearls, and pull it down, and you could have pearls.
A charm bracelet.
A charm bracelet.
Pearls. Yeah, and you could take a jump ring and put that around between the pearls and hang something from that as well.
Yeah.
It's so awesome. You start looking at this and looking at all her ideas, and you just let your mind open and think about where it can take you. She's got fantastic ideas here.
This one is just a ribbon.
Motion detected in this.
And I actually have it going over the top and the bottom because I tied that to the bottom of the signatures.
So that looks like it's sewn right in. You don't see the ends. It's attached. That could be either under where you don't see it behind the signature or on the inside of the signature.
Yep.
Great idea.
And then you can pin something to it because you have the...
Oh, good idea. Because it's a ribbon. Yeah, you could pin to that. You could tie to that. You could put a jump ring through it so it doesn't move around. Yep.
These were my wipe up brags from when we did the thing this past week. Gel printing. And I just cut them up and I started tying them to it. But I cut them in half. And
so
then
that is actually baby wipe.
Yep, baby wipes.
Wow.
And I had that many different colors that I used.
Yeah.
They dried out. And the other thing I like about these is that you can actually even start separating these to make them a little more grungy.
Frayed. Cool. Love it.
You know, once you get them on there. So it's going to look twice as many on there as actually.
Yeah. Yep. Margie said, oh, the ideas are endless now. See?
Yes.
It's true, Margie. You start looking at a few of these and it's like, yeah, they just start coming, and there's so many. You could literally put anything you want on the spine. There's always a way. Yeah. Just look at these different ways that she's attached, and she's given you all the basic things that we need to be able to attach anything and bind in any manner. The other thing, before we get rid of those buttons, you can also, she's showing the buttons at the hole. You could not put the button at the hole, but you could slide the button on. So you're just, and so you have 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 buttons between each of the holes. So yeah, you can slide anything on there.
Right.
You could slide a butterfly, slide a crocheted butterfly on there and let it go up and down.
I am going to do one thing here. Just let me punch this hole so that I can.
Sorry, Margie, that was good.
This was the template we were using earlier, and I'm going to use 3 different colors so that you can see. I may not go through all of those holes. But this is how I'm going to show it. I'm going to do the middle one first, and I'm going to do it on a with the dark one. And I'm going to put here's my 4-hole button.
Okay.
I'm going to actually put it up through one side, and it's going to be the diamond side. You know what I mean? It's going to look like a diamond, and down through that one, and pull it through. And obviously it won't be tight right now.
Sure.
I'll tighten it. Just put a really basic tie in the back.
There you go. So there you get buttons between the holes. You could put
Right.
1, 2, 3, 5. You could put 1 between this one. You could put 2 or 3 between that one. They don't all have to be the same. If you've got 3 signatures, you could
Once
vary
again,
colors.
this is really, I'm just doing it loose. Oh, I just lost my
Sure.
darn needle.
Let's, oh, dang it. I hate when that happens.
Well,
It's-
that's why I have.
This is a very inspiring tutorial, Sylvia. I totally agree, and I knew it would be. Please comment, ladies. As soon as we end, please do leave a comment, give it a thumbs up, even share it. Any place that you think people will see it that are liking to make journals, because it's not even as much just here if you don't know how to do this stitch. It's once you start looking at all these ideas, your mind just starts going. Like Margie said, the ideas are endless now. And DM is really good at getting you to look at a few things and then just go, wow, I can do anything with that.
Okay. How I would do the next one, or the 2 sides, so that it looked like it was an hourglass. I would put it up through there.
Motion detected in the backyard.
And then I would put, and this is just because I dropped my needle that goes through here.
Yeah.
I would put it down through.
So she's doing like that bead where she put the bead on the center one and then the 2 outside ones as she brought them out to the outside, strung them through the bead and then back. She's doing that with a button.
But what I would do is I would go up through the loop so that it looks like it's tied to the side of the button.
Okay.
And then back down through.
Interesting. I would have just gone up the same 2 hole, up the 1 hole and down the other hole.
So that it sort of looks like it's like that. Now you could make a knot there, so it would be a little easier, but you don't have the 2 holes there to go down through. You would just...
So if you use a large button that has larger holes, you could get all 3 strings up the same hole and down the same hole. But
and like I said, I think I'm going to knot this one to see how it looks.
Okay.
And having something like this and getting the idea, okay, I want to use a buttonhole. I'm going to try going up through the back of it this time and see.
This is how you get new ideas. She's like, okay, what would happen if I knotted it here? And so kind of help it hold it in place. This is how you get new ideas and new techniques, is just try it. Curiosity.
And you don't necessarily have to, you don't have to tie anything really in to be permanent either. No. You can just sit there and play with what you have. So I went up under, and I still think that I would do a knot here.
Okay.
So I think that going up under, doing a knot will look better than the one on the other side.
So
without a knot.
Get curious. Get curious about what would happen if. What would this do if? Or how could I possibly this? How could I make it look that? What if I tried this? Get curious. It's much more fun when you get. So
the other thing I just thought of while I was doing this, and this is just, once again, my brain goes.
This is how the ideas come.
Yeah. So if you put these on first, but you'd have to know the measurement, you could actually, if you really wanted to get, it to be perfect, you could do a knot like this and tie it like that, which actually is what it should look like when you're doing doing something like this, because it would so you'd put your buttons on with these things on it already, especially if you were only doing one. And then you would just we're going to pretend that one's in there. You would just bring the 2 up and down.
Can't see your card. It's too close.
I know. I'm sorry. I pull it towards you. It's hard to
it is.
Don't have something stabilizing it underneath it. It's hard to do.
And it's not that it has to be higher, just farther out on the table.
So we'll pretend that this one's in it already. And then
okay, that's kind of
and
cool.
then
Tying them ahead of time,
tying them ahead of
before,
time.
and then you're just going to kind of sew them backwards to get the threads where you want the threads to be.
Right. And you could do this for every part of the signature. You know what I mean? If you really, you know, and you just have a knot on each one.
You could do that right there. Bring those two together inside the signature and tie them, and then do it again for the next two holes down below.
And it's a funky octopus.
I love it.
One of the things I wanted to show was this is sort of a template they use. I don't have anything marked on it, but I do have an X, and I do show where I would want string. So if you wanted to play around with how you wanted to make the string go, like on this one, you don't even have the back string, you know what I mean? That you can have holes.
You could bind it so that the thread doesn't all show. Is that what you're saying? Okay. Yes. So it could have gaps, and it could look like, wow, how is that bound? Because I don't even see.
And you would go down, up, and just not go back through.
Yes.
You know, do the second leap through.
Yep. That's cool. That's a really good thought.
You see, I did the X's on each one of these so that you would see the different types. And I have top and bottom, and orange means top, the purple is the middle. I have an M there, and then blue on the bottom.
DM, we have accomplished the
motion detected
what is it?
In the front yard.
The holy grail of accomplishments with the tutorial.
Thank you.
That is Margie's mind is blown.
Good.
She has endless ideas flowing out of her mind. She can hardly wait to get out of here and go try some. That is a huge accomplishment. So thank you.
So I have this piece right here, right? I was just looking at it. I didn't put it away. It's from the other day. It was sitting on the side of my thing. But look at what you could do with this. That could go on the signature, and you could put a bead in the center.
Yeah. Yep.
So look at the little things that you have.
Look at the little scrappy things that are sitting around that need to be used. Well, if your mind is not blown by now, I would say watch this again, because you've probably got other things on your mind. Because if you watch this with an open mind, your mind will start going with all kinds of ideas and wanting to try different things. And really, we just want to get back to being curious.
Right.
Be curious about what will happen. How can I, and
make up templates. You don't have to do it.
Don't do it in a signature. Yes.
Right.
That just takes
doesn't have to be with the signature.
It takes up a lot of paper. It's very bulky. It's in your way. You may not be making a book. I love the idea of just using the scrap of paper, fold it in half like it is your signature, and just practice and try things on that. And these templates that she has right here, just with holes marked and then punched out when she wants to use them, that's perfect, because you can just, it's like those things we had as toddlers, where you thread the yarn through and you stitch it and then mom pulls it out.
That's exactly where I got the idea from.
Yeah. And then you do it again. This video is in Monday Jumpstart playlist, and
I'll have it on my
you can save it. Yeah. You can save it in one of your own playlists on your own channel once it's done. That's a really good idea.
Yep.
Binding techniques.
So, and you just have to look at what you have basic, what else, add beads to this. That's not, that you have to do it as you're going, but it's not
the sewing card. That's what it is, Cheryl. Teeny tiny templates for teeny tiny books. Yes. Yes, Margie, with teeny tiny holes, and we can still do the exact same thing. Yes. Great ideas. So, before we leave today, I'm going to challenge everybody to use one of these techniques or something that one of these techniques has inspired you to do, if it gave you an idea, and it doesn't have to be on a book, it can be on a template so that it's a practice card. It can be with a scrap of paper. And when you do a bunch of them, leave them and keep doing more on the templates. And pretty soon you'll have a little stack of templates that gives you ideas, and stick those into a book that is just binding ideas. I'm going to challenge you to do one new one and post it in the group and tell everybody how really mind-blowing today was with all DM's ideas about binding. I think everybody could just get new inspiration with this, and I'd love for everybody to be able to see it. Go ahead.
How long were we on? Only an hour.
We're only an hour in.
Holy mackerel.
I know. We've covered so much and we're only an hour in. Okay, you've got 2 beads on there, right?
I've got 2 beads, but you know, just fill it up with beads.
Uh-huh.
And then, as you're going, then
you could fill that whole thing with beads or buttons.
Yep.
And then you go to the next hole and do the same thing. So you could make your entire spine really
and I was just
thinking,
let's see, what can Dawn Marie come up with while I'm sitting here? Let me get this one on, because I lost my big hole one. I'm gonna have to use this one, and it's tighter. Okay, so pretend that this is, it's going through the thing. And I just had this in my hand, but if you are using a good needle, you can weave. Let's see if I can do this. Just like you were going to bunch it up as a, when you're hand sewing. Wow, my hands are really shaking for some reason.
Because we're trying to deal with teeny tiny, all the caffeine prior.
Yeah, probably. Just, the little tiny gathering stitches. And you could fill this up with gathering things.
In the front yard.
Yeah.
And then pull it down through. Like I said, I'm on a different kind of needle, so it's not gonna.
It's okay.
Make holes big enough.
They still get the ideas.
And you just pull those all down onto your thread. La la la. There we go. And you could do this with ribbon. You could do it with lace. Lace would look good.
Oh, look at that. That's a cool idea. And you could make it as tight or as loose as you wanted. Yeah. So it'll move back and forth, or it'll be bunched up tight together. You could even do some of this on folios.
Yeah.
You could bind a signature, a small signature, into a folio at one of the folds, and do this on the outside to totally amp it up and add writing space to a folio.
Yep.
You could just do it on the fold just to have the cool looking spine there without even adding a signature in.
Exactly. And even with this, like for instance, if I wanted to do it, really jazz it up, I'd put that there, push it up, grab a bead. This would be very boho right here. And then do another one of the scrunchie.
Yeah, a bead or 2, another scrunchie in there. That's cool. That's a good boho look. Yeah, look, think of all the little scraps of ribbon and lace, even fabric that you could use.
Well, that's why I did that one that you just tie it on.
Right.
I mean, that you can do so many. You could have, you have all your little scraps. Look at all the stuff I have here.
Right. Okay. But, so go ahead.
No, I was going to say, but you just start tying all the little things on. And that's it. The other thing too is weaving. You can weave paper through. I can do one of them really quick.
Yeah, you could weave paper through. So what she just did there, which was go through buttons, go through beads, go through lace. If you think about this, anything that you can get the needle through, you can put on there. So you could literally put the little embroidered butterflies or big embroidered butterflies.
Right.
You could put flowers, small or large flowers that can sit on the spine. They can be floppy or they can be attached tight so that they don't. There's paper woven through. So if you have some cool gel prints or something that you love the colors and they go with that book, anything else that you can get. So literally any kind of lace, any kind of trim, any kind of flowers, any kind of butterflies, even silk ones. I'm looking around going, wow, I'm just seeing things sitting everywhere.
And adding those extra lines that might not hold a signature.
But would be used to embellish your spine.
As embellishment is really, like, for instance, if I were to weave like this again, I would definitely add some dummy lines. I don't know. Dummy signature tie-ins. So that it didn't pull as much. You know what I mean? Like the wider and the more weaves you have in it, it's flatter and nicer.
Yeah. So that's an amazing idea. I know that when Glynis makes little golden books, she makes a wide spine and she does buttons on them like that. I think that's the only book she does buttons on, and she does it on every little golden book. And I've always thought that they looked really cool. And she puts multiple colors. If you've ever seen one of Glynis's little golden books, then you've seen that. But just even when you see an idea like that, you see what Glynis did with that, use that to let your mind go, okay, what else could I attach there besides buttons, besides beads? Could I attach a chain? Who would think about a chain? Could I attach flowers? Whatever, anything else that you could get your needle through, you can attach on there, literally. So, I mean, you could attach anything by gluing it, but the idea of getting your needle through it and sewing it on is quick and easy and attached where the glue is not going to ever worry about it coming apart.
Right. And the other thing is that you can get a lot more intricate, and I'm not going to show you anything because I do have some really intricate ones where I've made letters.
If you've got a couple handy, you could just show them, even though we're not going to talk about how to do them.
I was going to say, I really would have to
go pull them out.
Let's see.
We'll do that another time. In fact, if you're thinking about coming to retreat, I'm thinking that one of our classes at retreat will be a really fun, intricate spine that we've never done. That would be a lot easier to do in person. And DM can teach that class, and that's just fun. I'm excited.
But so I do want to say, if you have something specific, like say you wanted to do your initial and you wanted it to be on your spine, that it's got to look like that for a D. We'll pretend that's a D. So this would have to be open, and that would just be one single stitch. But all you have to remember is that you can do anything as a letter on a spine, as long as you remember the back has to be straight, but you can go over on the front and side.
Right. Okay. Does that make sense? So show one of your cards again. The back of the card is always going to be straight up and down, always. But the front, which is the outside, the part that you see, the spine that you see that is decorative, that part you can go across, in between, over, under, around, diagonal. You can make the cool stitches. You can make a letter. You could stitch a letter. You could get that whole thing all done, and then you could go back and just stitch the letter over this. All the signatures are in. Now just go stitch the letter in. Or you could do the letter with beads, how she was putting the beads on there.
And that's when you need graph paper. If you want beads, like say you put all beads down, but if you're going to do a D, you would go, that's way into another signature here.
Yeah.
So you're going to need these right here to be
the back of the D.
Right. So this would tell you how many signatures you needed to make a D. And actually, I wouldn't necessarily.
Or the fake signatures in between.
Or fake signatures in between.
I'd probably do 3 signatures and then do the 2 fake ones in between, and you could do a great D.
And you just have to learn, you just have to figure out. So it's just like cross stitching.
Especially
How
many over, how many down.
Yep. And that's where a lot of the dummy add-on signature laces come in, is that you can do them.
Yeah, you could, some of those little kid beads that they have at the Dollar Tree with the square beads with the letters on them, guys. Yeah, they're saying you could use those beads and you could spell a word all the way up and down. In fact, if you had 3 signatures, you could spell a whole phrase. You know, maybe you have a what's the word? You know, maybe there's a motivational phrase or something. Maybe the title of the book, if you're giving it a title, you know, in the journal, that's super easy. Instead of just threading on, that's not even fiddly, Julie. If you're, instead of threading on beads or threading on flowers or buttons, you just lay those out so they spell the word, and then just thread them on 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, to spell your word, and just put one in each signature, or one in the top, one in the bottom. You could make a whole phrase with that. That is super easy. Yeah. And yeah, see, the mind starts going, and there's no end to all the cool things that you can do with this. Bye, Sylvia. Thank you.
Bye, Sylvia.
And thank you, Sylvia, for coming back for a thumbs up and a comment later. Appreciate it.
Do not read this scary book.
But do not read on a scary book. That's a good idea. I like that. Put private on your personal journal.
Private. And everybody's going to want to look at it.
Right, exactly. Put the do not read on the one you want everybody to see.
Yep.
That's funny. Oh, fantastic ideas. Do you guys have any questions for her? Just how she's done her templates here, and her idea book, just a idea of bindings, a binding idea book. And these templates is right there, is just such a fantastic idea for you to try things and keep them as a sample, an idea, a reminder of what you can do. Wonderful ideas, they're saying. Put this book is boring on the one you don't want anyone to see. Yeah. And then they'll go, really? What's it about? Maybe I don't think it's boring. You know how people are.
And the only other thing that I can tell anybody from this one is, this is my sewing kit. I have a magnet on each side. So nothing really falls out unless it's like this that doesn't have any metal in it.
Right.
And I can open it and close it as I want, and it's not going to fall out. So
love that. Love that idea. I know Margie has a tiny one, and it's got a magnet on the bottom, which is really a great idea. Joanne says, thank you, Dawn Marie. She needs to go back and check out the parts she missed. Yeah, this is one that I would recommend watching again. And we may end a little bit early today, but I'll tell you what, in an hour and 15 minutes, you've gotten more content in this one than we sometimes get in the whole 2 hours. There's just so much packed in this hour. Curious minds. That's exactly it, Julie. I want us to get back to being curious. Curiosity is what makes us try things. Curiosity is what makes us want to experiment. Mm-hmm. And every experiment, everything we try, we learn something from. So it's only fun if we try. Patty Crane. Hi, Patty. Hello. Good to see you. Don't know if you've been here the whole time or if you just popped in. And curiosity killed the cat. So don't do that.
So yeah.
Well,
be creative, not curious. Be curiously creative. And that way you don't kill it.
Creatively curious. Our curiosity doesn't kill cats.
No.
Our curiosity protects cats. No cat killing. Definitely go back and watch. We had some of the most fantastic ideas today. And I think by keeping it a little bit shorter, it'll be a little easier for people to go back and watch the replay and we may get more replay watches. And I'm really looking for that because I think that Dawn Marie's ideas today are so helpful for everyone. I just really think that it can expand everybody's repertoire on binding so much that I'd rather keep it short and have people be willing to go watch it to learn something from her, because it was great. Thank you, DM. It's exactly what I was looking for.
This is exactly what I love doing. So
it was exactly what I was looking for, and I do appreciate it. Let's see. So yeah, well, different curiosity now, Julie. Now you're adults, and curiosity is the only way we figure out how things respond, how things work. We try things. That's the whole thing about art, is just try there. I don't know any type of art or any great artist that has thought about stuff and then just gone the very first time they tried something, made a masterpiece or something where they were totally thrilled with. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't matter what medium or media it is. It doesn't matter what technique it is or what kind of things we're using. We have to get in and play with it. We have to try it. We have to do trial and error. We have to learn how it responds, how it works. These binding methods even are going to be different whether you're using a dental floss versus an embroidery floss versus a waxed thread, binding thread versus an unwaxed binding thread. So you need to just get in and try them and see which you like the best and which feels the best and which works easiest for you under what circumstances.
And mine honestly, changes every single time I do a different journal to what I'm doing it.
And
I would use black to hold this down because then you wouldn't see it. But because I wanted to show everybody, I used the colored ones.
Right.
And the different size size of the thread totally changes for each and everything that I do.
And even the things that you attach and how you attach it. Margie said earlier that however you can make it work is correct. And that's absolutely correct. So when DM looks at this template that's got the chain and the buttons and stuff, she doesn't look at that and go, okay, I could do chains, I could do buttons, I could do ribbons. What do I want to do today? No, she just looks at that and her mind is open to all other types of things that could be attached in similar ways. All it does is open the gate for her to go, what do I want to attach today? What do I want to try this time? And so it's always something different. And do I want to try attaching it differently? Do I want to try tying it differently? Or do I want to see if I can make this one swing loosely because that would be cool? Maybe it didn't work. I'll undo it and I'll try it this way. All it is getting your mind to look at it and think about other ways and be curious about how you can make it work with things that you have. So please get curious and practice and try and experiment and post in the group. Post in the group something you tried that you don't care for the way it did or it was a flop. Post in the group something that you feel like should work, but it's just not working and maybe somebody else has tried it and has an idea. Post in the group something that worked that you love. That this is my favorite of all the experiments I did. This one really worked and I love this one, because we all are inspired by seeing all of them, not just the ones that turn out perfectly. Sometimes those are the ones that make us feel like, oh, I can't do it that good. We need to see all of the things, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I posted my gel prints this morning, the good, the bad, and the ugly from Friday. There's some pretty ugly ones.
Pictures of mine, and I'll put those up. But that's what I'm going to do after this. So, I'll take a picture of all of these. And even if you just start a book and start a template.
Yes.
Just want to see those because you may like your holes differently or.
And if you'll try one of those things and post it in the group and then reference this Monday Jumpstart, so when others see it, they'll know that they can go watch it and learn all of these ideas to get them thinking. really want everybody to use the supplies they have, enjoy using their supplies, look at things that you haven't been using, that you don't know what to do with, that you've thought of getting rid of and going, is that something that I could attach to a spine? Is that something I could sew on, or I could attach, one way or the other? Let's think outside the box.
Sometimes things already have holes, and all you have to do is get the,
Brilliant. Yeah. Grab anything that has some sturdiness to it. If you've got a piece of plastic paper from junk mail is great. A piece of chipboard or heavy cardstock to make those templates on. They'll last a very long time. So use the butterflies. Use the butterflies on the spine. Use the flowers that you're not using. Use the metal bees that fell off the garden ornament. Yes. The chain. Yes, the chain can have things attached and dangling all the way down. So yeah, just let it open your mind to other things that you can do. I can't wait to see the posts of things that people do make. And thank you for being here today. Thank you, DM, for sharing all your ideas.
No problem.
And we really appreciate if you could take a minute for a thumbs up and leave a comment as soon as we end the live. That is what helps make us visible to others who are looking for these types of things. And that's how we meet new friends. And we always enjoy welcoming in more happy paper people who are like-minded, supportive, community, collaboration, not competition. Everything is positive and supportive in this group. It is a safe place to land, a safe place to share your creations, your questions, failures, things that didn't work. Does anybody have an idea, of how I could make it work? Whatever it is, this is the place. Could be a while, but when I do it, I'll post it. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, DM. They loved it. We appreciate y'all. We'll see you in the group.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.